Hello, hello. Well done, you got to the mat. That was the hard part. We are going to be focusing on some fun stuff today that I hope will work certain parts of you a little hard, wake them up, but it should just feel like a great flow, intentionally keeping it kind of a shorter flow, get a little cardio going, and I want to just make clear from the beginning, the part of the body that I'm really trying to wake up and ignite so that the rest of our postures are supported and well aligned is right in here in this inner thigh, the pelvic floor, and the glutes will get involved. So if you take your block and you place it between your thighs like so, above the knees, or you imagine that you've got something there, maybe get something else from your household, and you squeeze, you should feel an ignition that happens right in that center body. And really, when we talk about core, people mistakenly think we're talking about the abdomen, but the core and what allows us to be strong and stable and to be able to, for example, fight or flee is right in here. So that awakeness, if you will, in that inner thigh, pelvic floor, and so on is really key. And it can't ignite if our feet are turned out in the same way that it can when it's in what's really its kind of mechanically designed path of motion. The other piece that's really, really helpful is this psoas muscle in here, and actually there's a minor and major, but this stuff, the iliacus, is a part of that. And it connects way deep in here in the abdomen, and that also is what allows us to, boom, contract, to fight, or again, to take off at a run. So I'm going to ask you, anytime you're just not sure, is that part there? Go ahead and take your hands and just, touch in there, contract, tell those muscles to get involved, okay? So we're going to do a couple things on our back first just to really wake that stuff up, and then we'll come into a fun little flow. Remember, as always, this is your class, so it's your practice, and it's the only one for today, and you don't know what it's going to be like. So no judgment of what you want. If you're going to do everything, you're going to do part of it, maybe you're going to do a resting pose while I'm continuing on. And that's the perfect practice, okay? Please come on down to your back, have your block handy or whatever you think you could maybe use here to place right between the thighs and putting your feet directly beneath the knees for a bridge pose, essentially. But I'm going to ask you to just take your hands right down inside, kind of on the low belly between the hip bones where I was talking about. And as you're ready, gather a long inhale through the nose, slow, deep, and wide. And on your exhale through the nose, think about squeezing that lower abdominal area down into the floor. And you can even kind of poke with your fingers like, hey, you guys, you muscles, get involved and squeeze that object. And if you hold here through the rest of the exhale, my hope is you're going to just feel a bunch of ignition. And release and soften. And let's do a couple more. And again, as much as you can, you're breathing through the nose. I'm a little stuffy and sneezy from cleaning out a hayloft yesterday, so I might be doing some funny things, including, snuffling, but just ignore me and do your nice, slow, deep and wide ujjayi through the nose. And again, you're softening on the inhale. Exhaling, belly to spine. So this is our last time. I'm going to ask you to hold all that ignition, and I hope you're really feeling your toes spreading and rooting, and then anchor the upper arms and press up to your bridge pose. We're just going to hold here for about 3 breaths. See if you can bring breath all the way into that front plane. So it's a little stretched, and as you breathe into it, my hope is you will get a deeper stretch from the inside. Again, keep thinking about squeezing that object of support. If you can feel that you're kind of losing contact with the object, that's how you know you're kind of turning out up to the outer part of the foot and you're losing that inner thigh growing area. One more big inhale, powering down through the arms, pressing down through the feet, squeezing your object, and then please come down slowly, slowly. Good. We're going to release the block. I'm going to cross right ankle onto left thigh for reclined pigeon. If you prefer classic pigeon, go for it. I'm going to hug that right knee as tightly to my chest as I can. And if you want to grab the foot too, you can. It's just sort of what allows you to get as much power through here without pressure in the neck. And then we'll rotate a little to the left. And my hope is that you're now feeling a good stretch to that right glute. Might be in your thigh as well. Deep, deep breath. And in your own time, return back. Good. Uncross. Cross the left onto the right. Notice that as I bring the whole deal towards my chest, I've got those feet firmly flexed. And this is great because that really helps stabilize the knee joints. Hug tightly. Check that you're not taking the tension into your neck. And rotate a little right. Is this side different? So the tension in the two sides might be part of our clue as to whether or not we are kind of have an even amount of strength in some of the muscles that I've been talking about. And come on back, good. And release. Just briefly, we're going to come back up with the hips and we're going to do a little leg extension work. Remember, you don't want your feet wider than like 6 inches max. I usually have mine closer. And you might start with just a foot hover, and then only if your body feels ready, taking it into extension. And again, this is part of our clue trail of how even we are. Do we do funny things like if you look at your foot, are you turning one out and one is straight up? That's a clue that there's something going on in an imbalance between this inner and outer on one side. And that is really valuable to know. All right, when you are ready, come with me on up to your feet. Maybe you come on up just to seated and then kind of gamble on up. If you're feeling pretty loose, you might have fun doing a little spinal rocking, practicing. How much energy does it take? What's the right amount of momentum? All right. Join me, please, with hands on hips. And I want to keep them here at various times just for awareness. A lot of people think their hip bones are straight forward when they're actually open a little bit and when we're in Warrior One and Crescent Lunge. So right here, pause. Imagine that you've got that block again. Check that your feet are straight forward. Good. And I'm going to take my right foot back into Warrior One. So I'm stepping back. If that front foot is noon, that right foot's at about 1 o'clock. Pause, steer those hip bones. Bring the hands to prayer. Hold a deep breath. Is there more? On a long inhale, simply reach up, and if you can, send the ribs forward. And if it doesn't bother your neck, reach the chin up. On the exhale, return prayer hands. Check with your stability. Again, if I feel my weight going to the outer foot, I've lost that inner thigh rooting. And again, inhaling, pressing forward through the ribs, up through the heart and chin. Is there more? Exhaling, prayer hands. And when I'm doing that, I'm re-stabilizing through that sternum rib cage point. One more time on this side. And I'm hoping towards the end of the inhale, you can feel a stretch maybe in that low right abdomen near that psoas area. And exhaling, prayer hands. Good. Come onto the ball of the back foot and step. Might feel good to shake it out. All right, we're going to explore the other side again. Ignite those inner thighs and step back with the left foot. You can do it in scooches. You can deepen when you get there and get that just right stance with the knee directly over that front heel. Back leg is powerful and straight. If this hurts, do it in crescent lunge instead. And as you're ready, inhale. Rooting from the back foot, reaching through the heart. Deep inhale, is there more? Exhaling, prayer hands at the heart. Neck is soft, tongue lightly connected. Again. And your breath may be shorter or longer, so maybe you do 2, maybe you do 4. Not important, just being in your breath, really respecting it. Is there more? Can you feel that stretch? And release. Good. Come onto the ball of the back foot and return to mount. Okay, we're gonna step sideways on our mat in one big stance if you're game for it. Turn your right foot 90 degrees so you are in your warrior two lunge. And we're gonna go right into that lunge. You might take hands to hips initially. Again, always check that ultimately your knee arrives over that heel and rotate those thighs to the outside. Beautiful. Reaching those arms out from the heart. Rotating those palms open. Good. We're going to come into a little flow here. Inhaling, reaching up and back. You can straighten the leg if you'd like. Exhaling, flow forward to your lateral stretch, elbow to thigh. Inhaling, extend into that stretch. And holding here, I want you to see what happens when you rotate your chest towards the floor while you're keeping that reach. And then you sweep back and you reach up towards the sky and you let your rib cage follow. So we're doing this wonderful spinal movement. And of course, it's great in that arm while I'm trying to keep my legs where they are. So don't let your right thigh wiggle around or that left knee bend. Mine just did. And when you're ready, on your next exhale, you're going to rotate, plant the hands on the floor, come onto the ball of the back foot, and step back for your first downward facing dog. And of course, there are lots of ways you can get there, however it works for your body today. And then just pedaling a moment. It's our first dog of the day, most of us. And so finding intelligent hands, shoulder heads rotating, drishti gaze between the feet. Inhale, exhale, sigh. I'm going to offer full dog series here, knees down recommended, but you could also do a little cow cat if you're still getting warmed up. Inhaling, coming into your plank. Pause, make sure that the thighs are engaging to the sky or that you're doing knees down. Exhaling, chaturanga, elbows in by the ribs as you slowly bend, maybe an inch. Maybe you hold even with the elbows, like you're about to kiss the earth, and then release to the pelvis, to the floor for cobra, or if you're working in upward dog. I usually love exploring both throughout my practice. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Inhale, exhale, sigh. I'm going to slowly walk my hands back to the feet because it's such good shoulder work. You can also always lunge forward or hop to the hands. Inhaling, root and rise. Find those inner thighs squeezing and exhaling, prayer hands. So we've arrived upright and we should still feel strong, stable, rooted. And I'm going to step sideways again on the mat, straddle pose. Getting those feet parallel, toes straight forward. And now slowly rotating the left foot towards the end of the mat. Again, you might take your hands on hips while you're exploring your lunge. We never want that back foot to come away. Find your place, pushing into the earth. So you're creating a really strong base, thighs externally rotating, so that as you inhale, reach up through that left arm, you feel no loss of stability. Exhaling forward, elbow to thigh. Inhaling, reaching into that nice side stretch and holding. And when you're ready, begin your circle. Rotating the chest towards the floor. And then as the arm comes up to the sky, letting the chest open there. Again, being really aware of your base. This is challenging. Moving your vision around like this is a huge balance challenge. And it's great because more of your muscles and neural firings are helping keep you upright. Helping you fall gracefully too. And as you're ready, on an exhale, plant the hands and step back. Downward facing dog. Inhale, exhale, sigh. Again, opportunity for dog series or taking it into cow cat or another form of spinal pumping if you prefer. Inhaling to your plank. Again, knees or feet. And make sure you're nice and stable before you exhale chaturanga. Your chest preceding your hips. So it's like you want your nose or chest to be the first thing to land. Then inhale either cobra or upward dog. Exhale, downward facing dog.
slowly walk the hands back to the feet. So I invite you to notice holding and hanging here a moment. If when you go into upward dog, for example, if you feel all of a sudden kind of weak, inhale, come on up.
One of the things that happens a lot, and I see it in people's bodies, is that they are not using the inner thigh as much as they need to. And so I'm doing a standing version. Their heels are rotating out. So we're going to come into dog series again, and I want you to give special attention to imagining that you've got an object there. And then the other piece is that the thigh bones are powering to the sky. Okay? So we're going to come into a little flow with some dog series. And this time we're going to be coming into our warrior one stance, which is where you guys just were, but from downward dog, leg flying. If that doesn't work for you, come from standing the way we just did, and you'll enjoy the whole warrior series from there, okay? So when you're ready, from wherever you are on your mat, we're going to make our way to downward facing dog. I'm going to inhale, root and rise. Nice glute squeeze. Again, waking up those thighs. Exhaling and fold.
Inhaling, hands on shins, extend halfway up.
And depending on where you are on your mat, you might be walking forward or back. Find your downward dog.
Pause, find your stability. The head, neck area should feel really peaceful. It's not doing the work. The work is, again, in all of the core, which includes that sternum and belly drawing towards the spine and thighs and so on. So as we slowly take the right leg flying here, I want you to notice if you lose any integrity. And if you think you might have, put it back down, get neutral again and go. I'm going to bend that right knee, and as I slowly open my right hip, I'm looking at my left foot to make sure it did not rotate. Good. One more long inhale, rooting, reaching, maybe looking under your armpit. Exhaling, neutral the hips, and bring that right foot forward. Plant that left foot for warrior one. Steer those hip bones, so bring that right hip bone back before you come up. It's a completely different experience. Good. And there's always a balance challenge of going from upside down to upright, so just pause, stabilize. Good, and I'm going to do that same little movement of exhaling, hands in prayer at the heart, and inhaling, reaching and extending up. So again, to your breath a few times. Finding both the power and the peace in our warrior series. On the next inhale, hold up, and then on the exhale, open to your Virabhadrasana 2. So that's that back foot coming into 90 where you were a few moments ago. Extending those arms out, maybe platter hands. And I often enjoy taking my vision from hand to hand. You can also appreciate those amazing hands, all that they do for you. And on a long inhale, exalted warrior or reverse, so bench or straight leg, whatever you'd like. And exhaling, flowing to lateral stretch. So elbow to thigh. Again, I always start with my vision down, shoulder heads anchoring. And then as I open up with that left arm, if I want, I'll follow it with my vision. Big balance challenge is to follow it all the way then as it moves overhead towards the wall in front of you. Or maybe you're doing this outdoors. Maybe there's a tree in front of you. I love it. And I'm going to spiral, making that same circle, reaching forward and then down and then back and then up and letting my chest follow along. Lots of stability. In fact, see if you can even lift that elbow from the thigh. And then slowly, this time as we bring our hands down, we're not going to move to dog right away. We're going to move into a spinal twist. So pause. You might work your right foot a little further out to the right. You could always do a knee down version, by the way. That'll be easier on your balance as well as other stuff. And then make sure those hip bones are steered again. This is a huge part of it. So you can keep the left hand on the floor as you're playing with rotating open. Or if you'd like to come up elbow to thigh, you can play in prayer twist. Shoulder heads anchoring, whichever version you're in. Big inhale. And here again, I want to imagine my inner thighs squeezing towards each other and my back thigh to the sky. That's the stability that will help us in a lot of postures, including the upward dog I was referencing. Give the breath room. This is a really good core workout. Think about wringing a kitchen rag with your abdominal muscles and spine. One more big inhale. Exhale, belly to spine, wringing. And release. Step back. Downward facing dog. Inhale, exhale, sigh. Good. You can always take a little resting pose, of course. I'm going to go right into dog series here. Again, thinking about those inner thighs. Imagine you actually even have a block right now. You can add one and actually have it throughout the series. Inhaling to your plank. Pressing back through the heels, in through the thighs, and up through the thighs. Neck is soft. Good. Exhaling, downward dog. Sorry, I misled you. Let's do another couple upward dog, down dogs. Inhaling, upward dog. Pelvis is hanging towards the floor, shoulder heads anchoring. Good. We'll do one more. So just noticing, where are the places that you give up strength? All right. And this may be a lot to ask, but I did say dog series, so let's go for it. Inhaling to your plank, knees or feet, all that integrity. Exhaling, chaturanga. Inhaling, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Inhale, exhale, sigh. Good. Let's come into child's pose here before we do the other side. All right? And if you're like, no, I'm ready to go, then feel free to keep in flow. Otherwise, we're going to just find some nice, deep steadying of the breath. Bringing the inhale slowly in. See how many parts of your body you can massage with your breath. A couple more rounds. You can also roll out wrists, as we sure ask a lot of them throughout our practice and life. Again, these amazing, amazing hands. If you're experiencing any wrist stuff, remember you can always play with forearm plank and some alternates and so on. I know it makes the flow part a little less flowy, but you can still get all the benefit. As you're ready, on your next exhale, connect the belly to spine, a nice supported core to come back in to your downward facing dog. Again, or you're moving into some of our flow from standing. So you'd be standing crane and stepping back. We're going to slowly take that left leg flying. Pause. Check your floor foot, your right foot in this case. And then as you bend that left knee and begin rotating open through the hip, check that that floor foot's not moving. Also that the arms aren't bending. So make sure you're continuing to push through the roots of the hands. And then maybe looking under that left armpit as you continue to send the ribs towards the right leg and the left knee higher. Good. Nice slow rotation of the hips back to neutral and bringing that left foot forward. Grab it if you've got to. Otherwise, plant that back foot. Steer those hip bones. And come on, hands in prayer moment. Settle, pause. So this is your time to kind of adjust anything. Like I noticed my back foot felt a little too much kind of behind the left foot, and I want it more like the heels in train tracks, not a balance beam. So again, notice what's happening in that inner line of that front foot. That's the one that's going to want to kind of move out to the side unless you imagine your squeeze. And power through that back leg as you inhale, root and rise up. Exhale, prayer hands. Couple more times. Soft tongue, tip of the mouth. Maybe a soft smile. It's really powerful to take all of the positions of peace, if you will, in the body. You know, soft gaze, soft tongue, a smile. They tell us we are safe, healthy, well, non-striving. This is just fun.
right? It's your idea of a good time. It's good for you. One more long inhale, rooting, reaching, and now exhale, opening to your Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. And then you just scooch that front foot as much as you need to. Get a nice deep lunge, whatever feels right on. Reaching out through the hands, perhaps platter hands. You know, if your shoulder's ever bugging you or something, you might just let an arm hang down. There are endless versions of this, depending on what our body needs. And we could take our vision back and forward. Keep rooting and reaching. And on a long inhale, reaching up and back with that front hand. Maybe straightening the leg. Again, always take your head where it's most comfortable for the neck. And slowly forward towards lateral stretch. Make sure the shoulders are stacked, the rib cage rising. You don't really need that left elbow. And then you might have fun following that arm as it reaches up and forward. Hold a moment and enjoy that stretch. So the body should be as if it's stacked between two panes of glass. So if your butt is out behind and you look and you see that this thigh is angled, you're not using this the way we want. You should squeeze your left butt cheek towards the right edge of the mat, and you'll feel the kind of thighs click in, almost like, you know, tent poles or something. And as you're ready, with all that strength and stability, begin doing your circle here, where I'm reaching the arm forward, and then down and back and up, and as much as I can following it with the chest. So you can even rotate the chest open to the sky. Notice what's happening in the feet, in the legs. Yeah, see, I'm distracting you intentionally, right? All this stuff's happening with your head and your arm, but the really important work is at your foundation. And as you're ready, on an exhale, plant the hands and come on neutral hip bones to the floor, towards the floor. So we're going to come into that spinal twist. And again, you could do a knee down version right here. You could come up, elbow to thigh. In all these versions, whenever you're ready, begin. It's so important that that right hip bone is forward, left hip bone back, and that I'm imagining something that I'm squeezing towards the center line with this left thigh, or it'll tend to go out. And the other piece is that if your back leg is straight, that it really is straight, that you've got those thigh muscles clicking in for you. So you might even practice as you gaze at your left foot, and I'm coming into my prayer twist, right elbow to left thigh. I'm looking and I'm anchoring through that left big toe and ball, and almost like trying to lift my other toes, just to show that my weight is in that center line of the foot. Powering that back thigh and ringing the ray. Big inhale. Exhaling, rotating. Shoulder heads anchoring down the back. Notice if this side feels different. Is it harder to create stability or easier? Soft tongue. And release. Step back. Downward facing dog. Inhale, exhale, sigh. Good. Last opportunity for dog series here. Again, any spinal pumping is great. Cow-cat. Inhaling plank, squeezing thighs, thigh bones to the sky. Exhale, lift the hips a little so that as you descend, your nose and chest proceed. And maybe going to upward dog or to cobra. Exhaling, press back, downward facing dog. Inhale, exhale, sigh. Slowly walk the hands back to the feet. Or if you want to hop forward, you can. Nice deep breath, really big inhale. Send it into the hips, send it into all those muscles you've been working. And when you're ready to root and rise, drop the butt, press on up, and exhaling, prayer hands. All right, we're going to take all that intelligence as well as probably some muscular fatigue into our tree pose. And it's challenging. Balance challenges are harder after we've kind of worked all those muscles, but there's also, like I said, an awareness that I think will be fun. So bringing the big toes together, see if you can spread the other toes out. Our feet theoretically should have as much awareness as our hands. Good. And then I want you to just see if you can, again, kind of ignite that inner line. Imagine that there's a block or something there. All right, we want to maintain that inner engagement towards the center line as we move into tree. So you could have your hands in prayer or jet airplane, or initially for stability, hips are nice. I'm going to come into a nice little kickstand with that right foot. And if I bring my foot up to my calf, I don't know if you can see this necessarily, but I've got my toes flared, what we call yoga toes. And this means that my toes are not touching that left calf, just the ball of the foot and the heel are lightly kind of connecting and aware. And I'm squeezing back towards the center line. So if you're kind of cocking out through that left hip, squeeze back, and you should feel like a really stable tree trunk again, I hope. And then we can notice if we're feeling pretty stable, or if there's a lot of movement. Remember that where we're trying to anchor is deeply into the inner line of that standing foot, and that's going to require those thigh muscles to power up. And as you're ready, add your tree branches. If you'd like the extra balance challenge and you're willing to be brave and wobble a bunch, close your eyes. And we get to have the challenge of choosing to breathe slow, deep, and wide, even inside of instability, inside of the unknown. Soft tongue, soft smile perhaps. And when you feel complete, try to come out with control, with choice, and give that leg a shake. I also like rolling the ankles. We're asking a lot of them. It's incredible, isn't it? All the strength and alertness that has to happen from the feet up into the legs to support us in that way. So bringing the other foot into kickstand, again, squeezing the thighs like you've got that block there. And so we should feel very stable, and with this sense that the neck, shoulders, they're not doing anything. We're not struggling, striving, trying to control it, because the intelligence is right where we need it. You might be bringing the left foot now onto the calf. If not, just keep it right in kickstand. But either way, we're active through those toes, just like our hands are awake as they come together in our prayer hands. And then as they at some point reach like great tree branches for the sky. Notice what's happening in the standing foot and leg. So if I notice that my weight is shifting to the outer foot, I'll also notice that that inner thigh isn't working. And instead I can push again with the inner line of the foot, and I'll feel thigh and glute fire up. And if your balance is pretty strong, again, go ahead and close your eyes, or feel free to do some intentional movement like you're a great tree in a wind. And that'll require all of the core stuff down below and at your center body to respond. Last few breaths, finding peaceful breath inside of instability. And then as you're ready, resolve. Prayer hands. Give it a good shake out. We're going to go sideways on the mat again if you're not already. And we're going to come into some just nice straddle, working through that very different path of motion, sideways, which we just don't do a lot in daily life, and especially after some of that intense ignition of the inner thigh, I'm hoping this will feel really good. So as you're ready, you might just add a little kind of power if you want a little less cardio, kind of reaching sideways. I think of this as like if you've done inline skating, rollerblading, or skate skiing. This is sort of a yoga version of that. So you're really pushing with the straightening leg. And then at some point, as you're ready, if you can, come to the floor with the hands. If not, they might be on the thigh. And if you can, let the head go. Check in with that straightening leg. Can you push into the earth with that foot? Say hello to the stretch, deepen it, welcome it, evolve it with breath. And as you're ready, going to the other side.
I always like to say that breath is the change agent, that it's what helps evolve our attentions and our habits and patterns in the body. Again, it affirms I'm safe, I'm well, I'm whole, which is the opposite of that kind of fight or flight instinct, right? So we're affirming safety and well-being and allowing hopefully a good balance of strength and ease in the body. And coming to center, hold and straddle. Legs straight if you can. If that doesn't feel good, then bend them. A couple more deep breaths, giving it room, and then drawing your torso towards that space behind you, between your thighs, I should say. Good, and then opportunity for yoga mudra. You could do this standing as well. I'm going to bring my feet in a little and bend the knees so that I can comfortably intertwine my hands behind my back or to grab a strap or a belt or something. Shoulder heads anchoring towards the hips and down the back, and then straightening the arms if you can. And then I really like pulsing them. So I kind of move the fist towards the hips again, and then away from the hips, letting gravity kind of take them. And release. Good. I'm going to walk those feet back in a little more and drop the butt to a little bit of a squat. Come on out. Whew. And exhaling, prayer hands. Okay, we're going to do one last little pose here, a powerful pose, if you will, and then we'll do a nice therapeutic restorative pose with the block. So this has got kind of a goddess pose. It's been called a variety of things, but that's the one that I've usually used with you. And so it's just a comfortable squat, essentially. There's no goal to turn the feet a particular amount in or out. So if you were to jump, kind of however your feet land is probably pretty natural for your body. And I'm looking for a neutral spine. So I sometimes see people in this kind of like so. And that's not really what we want. I'd rather have you come down less far and have a wonderful line from your tailbone to the crown of your head, which is kind of where my bun is a little bit. And so it should feel peaceful as you kind of slide up and down a moment, creating your elevator, if you will. And then arms out 90, and ideally kind of back in alignment with the ears, so that other than the legs, we're sort of, again, between two panes of glass. Light connection to the tip of the tongue. Try to keep those elbows about shoulder height if you can. If this bothers your arms, bring them in instead. And now see if you can close your eyes. And invitation here to stay present with intensity. If you're feeling a bunch of heat through the thighs, great. If it's hurting or you can just tell it's not good, come out, come back in. Find your place, change it when you need to. We're going to hold for a few breaths, big active breaths. Picture bringing energy up through the earth, down from the heavens. We are strong in and of ourselves, but we are also conduits for energy, right? We are able to connect with everything around us, this amazing, vivacious summer, if we want to, all the things growing. And if you're willing to add a little extra balance challenge and body work to this, see if you can lift your heels. See if you can go a little lower. One more breath. And come on up. All right, my friends, when you're ready, please come onto your back. Have your block handy. And we're simply going to lift the hips like we do for bridge, hold a moment, and just enjoy, once again, finding that inner thigh ignition. It'll be a nice kind of balance to what we just did with all that straddle work. Then when you feel ready, settle the hips down onto the block. Boy, my inner thighs are a little shaky. I hope you've got the same going on. All right, when you're on the block, you can have knees bent. If at some point you want to extend the legs, we're looking for comfort here. You just let the feet rotate open. We're not trying to be active or keep things parallel. This is truly like you're just draping yourself over the block.
If you bring the shoulder heads in a little, sometimes that's nice for that cervical spine, and you can find a more neutral neck. And this is a wonderful place to breathe deeply because you can ignite a stretch into that psoas line that I was talking about. And we only stay here as long as it's fabulous. So if you start to feel anything pinchy, your body's tightening to protect, you come out right away. If it's still feeling great, by all means, stick around for a little bit. Whenever you're going to release, you'll bend your knees again and then lift the hips off the block. And then please just give yourself any counter shapes and so on that would feel good. And then notice what would be the perfect resting pose for you. Maybe it's just plopping right down into your corpse pose. If you need anything for comfort, a bolster, a shawl, or so on, take a few moments to gather those items. After a solid flow like this, there is just a wonderful opportunity for healing in the body. It takes all of the healing prana, the life force that we've cultivated, and is able to circulate that. So this is a great time to be nourished and integrate that. If you can spend even longer than what we're doing on the video per se, and you can just continue, I strongly, strongly encourage that. The body is so wise. For now, please spend a few minutes with me coming into a deep, soft space. Let go of all breath control. Turn your gaze inside. Invite a deep softening in this amazing landscape that is you. Inviting your head to get heavy with gravity. And with each progressive breath, inviting a deepening and sinking of all parts, the torso and the arms and hands, and the legs and the feet. You might even imagine that you're kind of sinking down a little below the surface of the earth or floor, that you're kind of making a deep impression with the weight of your body. I invite you to scan your body, just gently witnessing the experience of the body. My hope is that you've, through your wonderful breath and willingness to move with some intensity and flow, that you've found, again, a deeper relaxation, a deeper letting go. But perhaps as you scan your body, there's an area that feels kind of flighty or itchy or what have you. Notice that too. Again, yoga offers such an opportunity to attend inwards and to know more of what's really happening. And when you feel complete with your scan, you might simply ask, is there anything that the body would like you to know? A particular thing that would benefit the body, support it. So just sort of ask and let the body wisdom reply. And I'll be closing our practice with 3 ohms on the singing bowl. I'm always delighted to have you join in. If you're on your back, you can enjoy the vibration with your rib cage and the floor. If you're seated, you can always place your hands on the body to be more aware of that vibration there. If you'd care to join me, please do. Gather that first long inhale. Om Shanti Shanti. Om Peace Peace. Wishing you peace in body, in mind, and spirit. And if you created more peace in your being with this practice, I pray that we can each take it out and share it in our life off the mat. So grateful to be with you here today. Thank you so much. Namaste.